Thank you very much, Mary. May I begin by thanking Lady Arden for acting as judge tonight most expertly, for preparing her subject matter with greater diligence than sometimes occurs on the bench. So we're all very grateful to Lady Arden for preparing so thoroughly and for conducting this trial so expertly and fairly. So thank you very much, Mary.
Thank you. Thank you.
Secondly, I echo the judge's thanks to the team of 5 counsel who have worked extremely hard to prepare this case and who have conducted it so excellently. So we don't, I'm sure, need to clap again, but I do repeat the thanks which have been expressed. The lawyers' group of Classics for All puts on a variety of events for the benefit of its members. Most of you here are members. As you may know, we had a talk in June by Professor Paul Cartledge from Cambridge on democracy, following the very excellent book which he wrote on the subject, and then Geoffrey Jowl followed to give some of the, Geoffrey Jowl QC followed to give some of the modern take on that subject. Then a few months before that, we had a talk by Rabinder Singh, Court of Appeal judge who has a great interest in Greek poetry and drama, and he was talking about Antigone. So the lawyers' group of Classics for All does provide events such as this, and I hope that all of you who pay your subscriptions feel that you're getting a benefit from it, and I hope that those of you who are here as guests will feel inclined to sign up, and if you're lawyers, become members of the lawyers group of Classics for All, and if you're not lawyers, become general members of Classics for All. But Classics for All does not exist primarily to provide entertainment for its members and supporters. Classics for All exists to promote the teaching and to fund the teaching of classics in state schools by providing training for teachers, resources for schools, and so forth. And Classics for All supports a very large number of primary and secondary schools across the country, most of them in areas of social deprivation. I understand that Classics for All has reached over the last few years about 50,000 primary or secondary school pupils who would not otherwise have an opportunity to study classics, and this does open their minds to a different world, an ancient world from which we have much to learn. So Classics for All is a very worthwhile charity, and I hope that anyone who hasn't joined will do so, and that you will recruit others to join. You will have an opportunity in December to make additional donations to Classics for All under the big give scheme. So we'll leave this on your table, and anything which you give will be doubled. So if you give £100, £200 will go to the charity. Every year, what we have as one of our events, a mock trial in the Supreme Court. You've just witnessed the latest one. In previous years, we have retried Socrates. We have put on trial the murderers of Caesar. We've put Antigone on trial for breaching the law of Thebes. And last year, we had a fraud trial with white-collar silks on both sides, who were dealing with the misconduct of Verres in Sicily, which I'm sure many of you will recall from reading Cicero. Well, there it is. Every year at this event, we also ask 2 teachers from one of the schools supported by Classics for All to say a few words about their work, how Classics for All has helped them and so on, so that you can get some insight into what the charity is doing, so to speak, on the ground. And this year we have 2 teachers who I'm afraid have been participating in the trial so far. Lysistrata is Judith Tyrell, and Lysistrata's husband is David Hogg, They're both teachers at the Kelmscott School in Walthamstow, if I pronounce it correctly. That is a school which didn't previously teach classics, but does so now, and with the support of Classics for All, and I think they're both going to tell you a little bit about it. Judith and David.
Is it all right if we sit here? I think I can project my voice quite ably, I hope. I just want to say what a privilege it is to be here tonight and to be speaking in front of you. What our job now is to do is to let you know what Classics for All does in schools like ours. Some of you may have heard us speak before, but 6 or 7 years ago, there was no classics at all in our school. It is a fairly standard state-run comprehensive school in North East London with a very standard population coming through, with all the hopes and ambitions that you might expect in a school of that nature, students wanting to go off and study, students wanting to make better lives for themselves and for their families. Classics is a great door for all kinds of things, and a lot of our students recognise that. So through your donations, we've managed to touch probably in excess of, well, each year it's about sort of a quarter of our pupils getting access to classics in some shape or form, which is quite tremendous. So we started with Latin. David's going to talk to you a little bit about ancient Greek, but we're teaching Latin. We have Latin on timetable. We have students studying Latin. But I just want to tell you a little bit of something which I think really explains why this matters. So if you can think back to what it was like yourself at school and imagine Friday lunchtime and you're sitting in a classroom, and it's the kind of classroom where there is stuff all over the place, and there's a normal sort of boards up on the wall with students' work, whiteboards. A bit more modern, we've got electronic whiteboards as well. We've got a little group of pupils around a desk. It's their lunchtime. They're not in detention. They've got their lunch with them. They're eating. And while they're eating, they're discussing how we're going to write our play, because we've started writing a play. We've almost finished writing a play, which is very pertinent to today. It's about the Mytilenean dilemma and how the people of Athens went back to re-vote. And it came about through a discussion as to why can't we have another vote about Brexit. And it touches on many of the themes that you're talking about tonight. It's our story actually has the women of Athens who don't have any voice actually influencing the men by chatting to them incessantly and getting them to go back. They're horrified by the outcome of the first vote. They're so horrified they make them go back and have another vote. And we've now thought, actually, where are the gods in all of this? We've got to have gods and goddesses if it's a proper Greek play. We've got our chorus narrating the action. So we've now got Athena coming to people in dreams and whispering in their ears. So when the women wake up, they can all start to work on their husbands. So it's now started in rehearsals. So our Drama Academy have leapt on it. We've got 1,000,001 people being choruses. We've got the art department who are very keen to do props, and so we're not going to have costumes. We're going to be a little bit more sophisticated than that. We're going to have emblems to represent your role in whatever you're choosing to be. We spent a great deal of time writing speeches and studying what might the rhetoric look like for the two main protagonists who are going to vote for and against absolute slaughter or only a little bit of slaughter. We've got people practicing being oarsmen. So that's all happening on a Friday lunchtime. I really, really hope that you're going to be able to come and see it. It's going to be in our school in summer, and it will be advertised through Classics for All if you'd like to be there in our amphitheatre. We do have an amphitheatre, so we'd love to see you all there. Over to David.
Okay, so just some stats on where we started from. So about 8 years ago, we had no Latin, no Greek, and no Latin teachers, or anybody that could teach Latin, I would imagine. And then Classics for All gave us a grant, and I started training myself on Latin. I wasn't taught it at school. And then Judith and a few other teachers joined the following year. So we had a little group of about 4 of us studying Latin in our spare time. And about 2 years ago, 5 of those 12 did their GCSE. And from that, I'd like you to think about a pyramid. So our structure is we started with 12 and the groups got bigger down the school. So at the moment, my current GCSE class has 12 pupils in it. We've got 1 year 10 pupil who's trying to do it in a year. We've got a third of year 8 and a third of year 9 doing Latin lessons, and they can choose it as an option at GCSE. And the class is about as diverse as you can get. My GCSE class, for example, is 4 boys and 8 girls, Chinese, Romanian, Pakistani, Caribbean, white British, Turkish backgrounds, essentially turning the standard classics demographic on its head. And all of this was started with a Classics for All grant. And I really want to emphasise that it's not about the most able pupils. Our students with Romanian backgrounds, for example, can access the Latin curriculum, and our Bulgarian speakers can access our Greek curriculum. And it's a great leveller, actually, rather than a way of elitifying. I'm making a word up there. It's making the subject elite. It's actually levelling out a playing field, actually. And of course, we've got lots of pupils with Portuguese and Spanish and some Italian background as well. 2 years ago, well, a year and a half ago, we then put, with Latin being quite successful, we've now put Greek on the timetable. And I started last year with 34 year 8s doing Greek, and now I've got 55 in year 8 and 34 in year 9, and I've got a few of those that are saying that they want to do it as an option at GCSE, which is something that we now need to talk about, because I would suggest that demand is outstripping our current supply. We, myself and Judith, have continued our studies, because neither of us had Latin, did we?
No.
No. Or Greek. We've both got GCSEs now. And Judith's carrying on with AS, Latin, and I managed to get a scholarship to do an MA in classical studies. And so our kind of educational journey is continuing, which is great for the kids, because I'm definitely teaching for about another 25 years, and I don't know how long Judith will be doing it for.
A lot less than that.
But I guess, like, if you turn the stats on the way, rather than what we've done, it's like, who's to come? The numbers are actually pretty massive, and that's all started from a really small kind of, well, not small donation, but it started from a little group of 12, and now we've got Latin, and we've got Greek, and there's other things being discussed, and there's a play, and we've got other teachers now that are picking it up as well. So we've become a self-sustaining department, because we can train other teachers now as well. And if you have any questions, I think we're here.
Thank you very much, David and Judith. Right, well, that concludes the proceedings. Drinks and refreshments will be served outside, so I hope that you will all stay on to mingle, chat, and enjoy the refreshments outside.